All right, let's talk about something that I know is on a lot of your minds. You've got an older PC, it works just fine, but Microsoft says it's not good enough for Windows 11. So what do you do? Today, we're going to dig into whether you should install it anyway.
And yeah, this is the question, isn't it? Microsoft drew a pretty firm line in the sand with their hardware requirements, and suddenly millions of perfectly good computers were left out in the cold. So is it really worth it to find a workaround and get the latest and greatest?
Because if you go online, you're going to see it everywhere. You know, those videos of someone proudly booting up Windows 11 on a machine from like 2012. It looks so tempting, and they always say, see, it just works. But here's the thing, is it just works really the full picture? Let's get into the real story.
So let's start with why this is so appealing in the first place. Let's talk about the Windows 11 temptation.
I mean, you get it, right? It's this promise of getting a shining, new, modern operating system, but on the hardware you already paid for. No need to spend hundreds or even thousands on a new machine. It feels a little bit like you're outsmarting the system, but that feeling might not last.
Okay, so why isn't just working good enough? Well, that brings us to the hidden risks. Because getting it installed is honestly just the very beginning of your problems. The first big problem you're going to run into is what unsupported actually means. And spoiler alert, it isn't just a gentle recommendation from Microsoft. It's a hard boundary. Look, what this really boils down to is that you are taking on 100% of the risk. Microsoft has zero obligation to help you. They don't have to give you security updates, and they can cut off feature updates whenever they feel like it. If something goes wrong, and it probably will, you are completely on your own. You are flying blind, my friend.
And let's be super clear here. Those hardware requirements, things like TPM 2.0 and Secure Boot, they're not just some random list to make you buy a new PC. No, they are the literal foundation of Windows 11 security. When you bypass them, you are kicking out the support beams and creating some serious instability and major security holes.
At first, it might just be little things. Glitchy graphics, your sound cutting out, because the drivers just aren't quite right. But then it gets scarier. Core security features like BitLocker drive encryption could just stop working without even telling you. All your data is suddenly at risk. And then there's the doomsday scenario. A future Windows update comes down the pipe, and your PC just won't boot. It's bricked. Game over.
Okay, I know that sounds pretty bleak. It sounds like a huge gamble, and honestly, it is. But here's the good news. This does not mean your old computer is destined for the scrap heap. Not at all. Let's talk about some much smarter and way safer alternatives.
And listen, this isn't about settling for less or, downgrading. It's the total opposite. It's about empowering your hardware. It's about picking an OS that's actually built to run like a dream on the machine you have, giving it a whole new lease on life with real stability and real security.
And you've got some amazing options, way better than you might think. If you want a full-on, modern desktop experience, you've got beginner-friendly Linux distros like Mint or Zorin OS. Seriously, these are fantastic. They're secure, they're fast, they look great. If your old machine is mostly for browsing the web, something like Chrome OS Flex can make an old laptop feel brand new. And if you have that one Windows app you just can't live without, you can still run it on Linux with tools like Wine or even inside a virtual machine. You've got choices. So what's the payoff? What do you actually gain by going this route? Well, it's not a compromise, it's a huge upgrade. You're choosing an OS that gives you rock-solid stability and long-term security. The very things you give up by forcing Windows 11. On top of that, these systems are so lightweight that your old PC will probably feel faster than it has in years, which means it gets to stick around for a lot longer.
All right, so let's bring it all together for the long-term verdict. When you really weigh that temporary thrill against the very real long-term risks, the answer starts to become crystal clear.
One of the best ways I've heard this described is with a really simple analogy. Forcing Windows 11 onto old hardware, it's like driving a car that failed its safety inspection and you slapped a fake license plate on it. Sure, it'll probably get you down the road for a while, but you're just on borrowed time, waiting for the moment it all comes to a screeching halt.
That's exactly what this is.
Look, at the end of the day, being smart with your hardware isn't about pulling off a temporary trick or a clever hack. It's about making a sustainable choice. A choice that guarantees you have a computer that's reliable, secure, and genuinely pleasant to use for years to come. That is the real win here.
So maybe the question we should be asking isn't, can I force Windows 11 onto this machine? The better question, the more exciting one, is this. What new, vibrant, and stable life are you going to give your trusted old PC?
Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.